All right, everyone, we're going to go ahead and get started. My name is Kelly Miller, and I'm the Marketing Manager for Plus Consulting. We're really glad that you could join us today. We're going to be talking about Microsoft Dynamics 2015, some features and capabilities in this year's version, as well as a preview for the fall release that will be coming out later this year. A little bit about what we're going to be speaking about today. We're going to talk a little bit about Plus Consulting for those of you who might be new to us, and then for those of you who are existing customers, maybe you'll find out something you did not know. And then we'll go through a couple of housekeeping tips, and then we'll jump right in. Next slide, please. All right, a couple of housekeeping items to go over. If anyone has a question, you can ask the question on the side in the Go to Webinar window you see on the right-hand side of your screen. We will be addressing questions after every major section that we go through today. Hopefully we'll be able to get through all of the questions. If time runs out or we can't answer your question, we will get back to you with a direct email. So a little bit about Plus Consulting. Plus has been around for about 15 years. After starting out with a few guys in a garage, today we have a global footprint with offices across the country, as well as a newer location in Melbourne, Australia. We provide IT strategy. Most of our consultants are MBA level business strategists with technology backgrounds. We cover everything from customer relationship management, CRM software like we're going to be talking about today, to business intelligence, portals, infrastructure, and security staffing and training. We do so by everything from high-level IT strategy services to helping you select the best product for your organization, and then delving deeper into system design through project management and system implementation. And then we will come in and do the training as well as system support and any project rescue and recovery projects that you might have. And then we'll also help out with any kind of staffing or resource recruitment needs that you might have. Why do we do it? There's a great culture at Plus Consulting. We have been named consecutively to Consulting Magazine, Pittsburgh Business Times, and the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette as best places to work and fastest growing companies. So we're really proud of those accolades, and everyone here is proud to be part of the Plus Consulting team. So with that, I am going to pass the presentation over to our Microsoft Dynamics Practice Director, Manuel Sevilla, and he will take it from here.
Thank you, Kelly. So, I'm going to hit the ground running because we have very few minutes to cover a lot of material. So we are here to talk about Dynamics CRM and specifically the Spring 2015 release. The Spring release, well, it's everywhere. The Spring release covers all of the updates to Microsoft's online services. This includes Dynamics CRM Online, Dynamics Marketing, Dynamics Microsoft Social Engagement, previously known as Microsoft Social Listening, and Parature. For today, we will not be covering Dynamics Marketing and Social Engagement as well as Parature. Those are going to be separate webinars that we're going to be doing down the road. Today's focus will be only on Dynamics CRM and the enhancements that were added in the Spring release of 2015. So a little bit about what the release cycle is for Dynamics CRM. There are 2 releases a year for online. So that's the key distinction. There's a release for online and a release for on-premise. So if you're online, you can get 2 releases a year. One, which is the Spring release, is usually around the second quarter of the year, and then the fall release which is usually happens in the fourth quarter. I've seen in December is usually when I've seen these come out. Those are both for online. On-premise, there's only one release, and this is in Q4 of every year. And it includes both the spring and fall release features. So here's an illustration of the current release timeline and where it's going. So back in December of last year, we received the 2015 release. That's when it was rebranded from Dynamics CRM 2013 to Dynamics CRM 2015. Earlier this year, around the May timeframe, the 2015 spring release was put out, which is what we're going to be covering today. And then coming up in fall, around December, we're going to get the fall release, which is going to be a whole new set of features, as well as the on-premise version for this. Next year, around the second quarter, we're going to get the 2016 spring release. Okay, so we're going to be starting off with the user experience improvements to Dynamics CRM. So there's been a lot of improvements to the user experience, and we're going to see this here in a second. I just want to highlight these in the deck. The first thing is they've streamlined the navigation. So the experience that a user receives when navigating the application it's much improved. It's easier to navigate and to find information and get to the areas that you really want to get started working. They've also added a really neat feature, which is globally most recently used, which is going to allow you to have a central list of all your views and recent records that you've been working on in the application. They've also made enhancements to the form navigation with the introduction of jump points, allowing you to go to specific areas of your form faster without having to scroll vertically in the form. And they've added enhancements to UI themes. So they're giving you the ability now to personalize your CRM to for every organization out there. So let's jump into the application and see how this looks. I am going to now go into the Dynamics CRM environment that I have. Okay. So this is the newer version of Dynamics CRM. So right off the bat, you'll see there's some changes to the top navigation called the nav pane up at the top right here. So we're going to start from the left and work our way to the right. So starting on the left, the Microsoft Dynamics CRM logo is now something you can click on. And this has been dubbed the home page button. So now, independent of where you're at in the application, every time I click on the Microsoft Dynamics CRM logo or the logo that's sitting here on the left-hand side, I'm always going to go to my home page. You might ask yourself, how do I set my home page? So real quick, to do that, all you need to do is go to the options, and in the options menu for each user, there's a default pane and a default tab. In my case, it happens to be sales dashboards, but I could set this to be sales accounts. I could even be, if I'm a marketer working in marketing, going into my campaigns. So this is something that every user sets, and whatever that option is, it's where you're going to be taken to once you click on this logo on the top left. The next thing is the main menu. So the main menu, what they've done is they've made it so that when you click on it, and this is these three little vertical lines, horizontal lines on the nav pane, when I click on this, I get that same experience that shows me the areas within my Dynamics CRM application. In this case, I get the default ones, which are sales, services, marketing, as well as settings and the help center. This is completely customizable to every organization or every customer. Whatever areas you have is what's going to appear in this menu. Here's where the major change comes in. So before, when I clicked on the sales, I would have been taken to the sales area, and I would have to do another click to get the groups and the components of that area. So now, when I click, I'm going to click on sales here, I get a second navigational menu showing me all of my groups, which is these at the top, my work, customers, sales. And then within each of these groups, I have the individual components. So within the My Work group, I can see activities, what's new. Within sales, I can navigate to this. If I go to marketing, I get my list of groups and components. When I click on these, I'm going to go to accounts, for example. Within marketing, you'll notice that the second navigation menu here changes to depict that I am in marketing, and I'm immediately taken to the accounts area of marketing. Okay. So now, once I'm in here, I can go back and start navigating from here to the different areas. But if I want to navigate to a sub area or a component or a group within marketing, all I have to do is click on this button here, and I am quickly shown the groups and sub areas within the marketing area. Next to this, we have once you click on an area, so I'm in accounts now, and I want to work with accounts. Just as before, you have your frequently used or your most recently viewed items. The main difference here has been that before you used to have a horizontal navigation, so that if you wanted to move and find additional records, you would have to navigate left to right. So that was very cumbersome, very problematic, time-consuming. So what they ended up doing is now you're giving this in a vertical fashion, and it's going to be stackable, so you can move from left to right, but see everything in one area of the screen. Okay. Then the next one is the recently viewed items. So this is this button right here. When I click on this, what I'm showing is two main sections. On the left-hand side, I see my recent views. That is, if I've been looking at, say, my active accounts, my recent contacts, or even all cases, I get those in here, and this changes. This is changeable for every user, and it changes as you work with the application. And then on the right-hand side, I have recent records. The difference here is that whereas before I only saw my the recently viewed records for the specific entity, say accounts or contacts, now I get a mix of all record types. So I can see any dashboards that I've been working with, any contacts, any accounts, and basically anything that I'm working in the system, within the system. One added benefit is that if I see that I work very heavily with a particular record, I could pin this to my recently viewed. So if I work with Plus Consulting quite often, I don't want to have to find it or hope that it's my recent viewed. I can just pin it, and it always will remain in there, independent of what happens with the rest of the recent records. I can do the same thing with the views, and I can pin this to my recent views area. Okay. Then next to this, we have the Quick Create. This is not new for 2015. This actually came with 2013. What is new is just the way that they are displaying this. Again, before you used to have, if you had a lot of Quick Creates records out there, you would have to scroll left to right to find the Quick Create that you were wanting to utilize. Now you can see that I can quickly see Quick Creates that are also grouped by things that are by my groups in this case. I can see activities and then records, and quickly from here start the Quick Create process for one of these. So I clicked on contacts, and here's the Quick Create for the contact record. Then next to this is Global Search. Global Search is new to 2015. There wasn't a lot of improvements in the spring release, but this is a great feature on its own that you can utilize. So once you've configured Global Search, all you need to do is enter a name or a text string that you want to search for. And when you do this, it will scan all of your records independent of record type and return those that meet the criteria. So in my case, I search for plus, and I get any accounts that have the word plus, as well as any contacts that have the word plus or are related to Plus Consulting in this case, or Plus Construction if there was anyone out there. And I could further filter this if I just want to look at contacts. I can do this, and it's going to help me find data a lot easier in the system. Then next to this, we have another great improvement, which is advanced find. So if you recall, for those of you who have used 2013 or previous versions of Dynamics CRM, the way that you would launch the advanced find is you'd have to go to your list view for a specific entity, and then from here, hope that it was in the command line, and if it wasn't, it was probably in the ellipsis, and from there, click the button and get to it. So a lot of clicks, a lot of time consuming activities. So from now on, all you have to do is, independent of where you're at in the application, click this button, and you get the advanced find. It's context sensitive, so it knows that it was called from within accounts, so it defaults to looking for accounts. If I was in contacts, it would default to looking for contacts. But I can change this and start searching for things. So, minor changes, but they're, in my opinion, very good, and they add a lot to the actual application and enhance the user experience. Then right next to this is just a identifier of who the user is at. You can personalize this. I went ahead and put my picture in there. And then next to this, you have your options, in which you can see things like set your personal options or learn a little bit more about the Dynamics CRM. Okay, then the next thing we're going to talk about here is themes. So before, if a customer wanted to make the CRM their own, so add their own branding, their own logos, their own color scheme, that was something that was just not possible. We were forced by Microsoft to use their color scheme and their logo. So now what they've done is they've added that feature, and it's called themes. To get to themes, all you have to do is go to settings, customizations. Notice how fast I'm getting to this area using that new navigation menu. And you'll see within customizations, you have themes. So when I click on this, you're going to get a list of all the themes in your system. Only system administrators can create, modify, and publish themes. So this is a system-wide setting. This is not for every user. Not every individual user can have their own theme. An administrator sets the theme and then publishes it for the entire organization. You have a default theme that's given to you by CRM. This is the one that we're actually working with right now. But let me open one that we went ahead and created to show you what this looks like. With a theme, you give it a name, and then you specify a logo that you want to replace the Microsoft Dynamics CRM button on the top left, as well as some tooltips. And then you can set things like the background color for your navigation pane, the color for tables, rows, even links, which is what we've gone ahead and done in here. I could clone it, I could preview it, but I'm going to go ahead and publish it. So when I publish this, every user in my system will immediately get this new theme pushed out to them. So notice how at the top left, what's changed, we've added our logo, and we've added our own brand to the color scheme in Dynamics CRM. The next piece is jump points, so improvements to forms. So let me go to a form, and I'm going to pull one of the ones that has a lot of tabs in here. So let's go to cases. And I'm going to open a case. So what jump points are is really a way for users interacting with forms to get to data a lot faster. So this is only applicable if you have a form that you've customized and added a lot of tabs to. So what usually used to happen is if a user wanted to get to information that was at the bottom of the page in the last tab, they would have to do a lot of scrolling. So scrolling, like I'm doing right now. But now what I can do is next to the name of the record, there's this little button right here. It's called Form Sections. When I click on it, I get a list of all the tabs in my form. And by clicking one of these, I'm taken to that specific tab. So if I wanted to see additional details about this case, I can just click on this. It opens the tab for me and takes me to that area in the screen. Okay, so at this point, this is the end of the UI enhancements. So I'm going to take a pause and see if there's any questions out there. So if you have any questions about what you just saw, please go ahead and ask them via the question feature in the GoToWebinar. Okay, so let's keep going. So the next piece we're going to talk about are improvements to Outlook and Exchange. So the first thing they've introduced is a Dynamics CRM app for Outlook. So what is this? This is a lightweight Office application that is used with your Outlook web app. It allows you to do email tracking, find out if there's emails that you're working with that are already tracked in CRM, create contacts from within the Outlook web app, and preview information about a particular contact or lead, specifically seeing if that contact or lead is in your CRM, if the CRM information about that contact or lead, any activities that are upcoming, any opportunities, or open cases. One thing so this is what it would look like. I'm going to show you this here in a second. But the key distinction here is this is an Outlook app that lives within your CRM, within your web application. So to view this, you have to have the browser. I want to also point out that this is not the Outlook client. So for those who are familiar with CRM, the Outlook client is a client, it's a full client that you can install, and it attaches itself to your Outlook application living in Windows. This is different. So the Dynamics CRM app, I'm going to point out some of the differences which you can see in this table. The Dynamics CRM, the CRM app for Outlook, allows you to track only emails. The CRM for Outlook, or the Outlook client, allows you to track emails, appointments, contacts, and tasks. The CRM for Outlook application only lives within the Outlook client. It does not live within the Outlook web app. That's what the CRM app for Outlook is designed for. The Dynamics CRM app cannot work offline. You cannot generate templates and attach knowledge-based articles like you can using the Outlook client. You can't filter or sort through CRM records from within the Dynamics CRM app. So it has its limitations, but you'll see that this is going to add a lot of functionality to those users that are used to working with the Outlook web app. We'll see that here in a second. Then we're going to talk about folder tracking. And folder tracking is another neat feature that they've added that allows users to track incoming emails against CRM records. The way this is set up is you create these folders in Exchange, and every user does this. This is a user-driven functionality, so this is not set up by the administrator. Every user sets up these folders and then goes into CRM and creates these rules that map records in CRM against those folders, so that whenever you take an email that's coming into your phone or your Outlook web app or even Outlook, you can take that and move it into one of these emails, and then it knows that it has to track it against that particular record that you set up it for. Okay, and then we're going to talk about office groups, but before I jump into that, let me go and actually show you what we just saw here in the actual CRM application. So the main difference here, I'm going to go to Office 365, and I'm going to go to the Outlook web app. So this is my email that's coming in. So I'm going to take a specific person here. I'm going to look at the Alejandro here, who sent me an email the other day inquiring about some of the cool new features in CRM. So the thing that you'll see here is there's a new tab that's open by default. So when I click on this tab, what this app is doing is it's hitting CRM, and it's taking the contact, the first name and last name, as well as their email, and it's trying to scan and find out if this contact a record that I have in my system. And at the same time, it's trying to determine, hey, are you tracking this email somehow? So you can see here that I get two sections. The first section is telling me the email that I'm currently on, this conversation, is being tracked. And it's being tracked against the Alejandro Ocasio contact record in my CRM. I could change that, say I want to track this against an opportunity instead, or even against the account associated to that contact. I could do that very easily. I could even set the untracked feature if I wanted to. And then right below this, because it found this contact in my CRM, it's giving me information about that person. So it's telling me the full name that I have in CRM, as well as the person's title, business phone, and company information. Then right below this, it's giving me information about what's the next upcoming activity associated with this account, with this contact. So I know that somebody has to send Alejandro a brochure of our products. I can also see any open cases associated with this contact. So that gives me more information, empowers me to make more intelligent decisions. And then I can also see the full 360-degree view of a contact, because I can now see the opportunities associated to this contact as well. If there was any activities that had been completed, I would also see that in here. Now, what if I'm receiving an email that's for a contact that's completely new, that's not in my CRM? What's that experience going to look like? So let's take this email from Kelly, also inquiring about our products. I'm going to click the Dynamics CRM tab again. It's going to try and find Kelly in my CRM, and it should return that it did not find her. So the first thing is, I'm not tracking your email. Do you want to track it? And if I do that, it will allow me to choose who I want to track this against. But I can also create a contact from here. So because I did not find it, it populates some of the information that it already knows, like the email, first name and last name. But now I can add information about this person's job title, their contact information, as well as addresses and phones. So when I click Save in here, what this will do is it will create that contact in CRM, and then it's going to allow me to track this email against that contact. Okay, so a very cool feature. The next one is related, and this is folder tracking. So with folder tracking, there's two components to it. Also, it starts from within your Outlook or from Exchange. The difference here, this is folder tracking is something that you can do from your Outlook client, from your phone, even from the Outlook web app. As long as you set up a folder in Exchange, this will work. So what I've done here, this is my list of my folders. I've created two folders, one for Manuel Sevilla and one for Plus Consulting. So once I create these, I can go to my CRM, and in my personal options, there's a new feature within the email tab called Configure Folder Tracking Rules. When I click this, I am going to get a list of all the rules that I currently have and the ability to create new rules. So I already have a folder tracking rule set up, which says this Exchange folder called Plus Consulting has to map to this record in CRM, which happens to be an account record for Plus Consulting. If I wanted to add a new one, all I need to do is select the folder. Recall that I have those two folders. I can't create another mapping for Plus, but I'm going to do one for Manuel Sevilla. And I could search for Manuel Sevilla here, and hopefully it only returns my contact record. But I could map this to a case, an opportunity, even a custom entity out there. So with this set now, every time I move an email into any of those folders in my Exchange, or what will happen is it knows that it has to track those emails against these records that I've defined previously. The benefit of all this is not only can you do tracking now from other devices that may not be running a specific Dynamics CRM application, but also if you are somebody that likes to use Outlook rules, you could build a rule that always tracks emails coming in from a specific account and moves them to one of the folders that we're tracking. That way, you remove the actions of physically or manually moving and tracking emails against CRM records. Okay. And then the next one we're going to talk about today is office groups. So office groups is a method in which you can collaborate with team members on a specific record in CRM, even if those people are not dynamic CRM users. So the use case for this is you may be working on an opportunity, and that opportunity requires help from other members in your organization. But those members are not part of dynamic CRM, and they probably shouldn't have access to this, but you still want to collaborate with them. So how do you enable that? The exchange of files and notes and emails without giving them direct access to dynamic CRM. So this is where office groups come in. The way it works is you create an office group and you associate it to a specific record in CRM. Then you add members of your Office 365 user list to this office group. And once you've done that, then they're able to join meetings, start conversations, and add notes. The way it ends up looking is, I'm going to show you, I was going to try and show you this in the actually working, but it's going to take some time. So this is what ends up happening. Once you create the office group, I created an office group and tied it to this opportunity. I get this section showing me conversations between the group, any notes that I've shared between groups, documents, as well as a calendar view, and the team members of that group. So these team members could or could not, don't necessarily have to be members or users in Dynamic CRM. Okay, I'm going to pause now and see, are there any questions on the section that we just covered? Okay. So moving forward, the next section we're going to cover are Excel and OneNote enhancements. And in my opinion, this is by far the best feature that has been added to this spring release of Dynamic CRM. So I'm going to show you about the redesign of the export to Excel feature. It's been a complete redesign. It's a smoother experience, less clicks, and it allows you to now export 100,000 records, where previously the limit was 10,000 records. We're also going to look at the new immersive Excel experience. So now what Microsoft is allowing us to do is to use Excel, but from within Dynamic CRM, using Excel Online. You can conduct what-if analysis, adding charts and other Excel functions without ever leaving Dynamic CRM, and then save these changes to Excel Online, even a local copy. But by far the best feature is if you modified any of the records in that you've exported, those are immediately imported back into the application with your changes. So this is what that immersive Excel experience looks like. We're going to see this here in a bit. And then we're going to look at the embedded OneNote feature. So if you are a die-hard fan of OneNote, where you like to take more structured notes and add things like pictures, tables, video, video recordings, and even audio, you can use now OneNote and tie it to records in CRM. It's something that can be configured per entity, and it can be, what it allows you to do is you can open the OneNote online as well as locally, and even from within your mobile devices if you had any. So it centralizes the data into one repository but allows you to keep those notes up to date independent of platform. So let's take a look at what that looks like here, and we're going to start out with the Excel features. So I am going to go into a series of opportunities. Here's the first thing we're going to talk about is the export to Excel. So if you recall before, what ended up happening is if you wanted to export this to Excel, you would click a button. This would prompt you to download a file. Once you open that file, you would get prompted for, you would get a warning saying, do you trust this data? You want to publish it, or do you want to open this? Then you'd open it, and then you could start working on it. So a lot of clicks, a lot of time consumed doing all of this. So now all I need to do is hit static export to Excel, open, and I have my opportunities that I can start working on. Now, if I wanted to work with the immersive Excel experience now, all I need to do is the same thing, select what I want to work with, and this works on any view in your CRM system. And then when I click and open in Excel Online, it will open within the browser and within Dynamics CRM an Excel window, allowing me to work on those records that were in my view within Excel. So from here, I could do things like add a chart. I could do what-if analysis. I could do averages, sums, perform functions. But here's the really neat feature. Suppose I want to update my estimated revenue for some of these opportunities. So I'm going to say this is 10,000, this is 300, and I'm going to even change the rating from warm to hot. Notice how this respects the type of field that I'm modifying. So it knows that rating is an option set in my CRM. So I am limited to the choices that I can make, and it provides me those choices for that particular field. So in here, I'm going to say this is hot, and then this is cold. If I were working with lookups, the difference is, so this is a lookup, it expects whatever you put in there to exist in the system. So if I were to take an account and put in some new account, it's not going to create it for me. It expects me to have that in place before I actually save these. So now that I made my changes in Excel, I have a couple of options of things I can do. I can save this to my online folder for Excel. I could download this, a local copy that I can work on, or I can save the changes to CRM. So when I do this, the one thing to point out, though, is that the charts and any other features that are Excel-only features are not going to be saved back to CRM. So don't expect this chart to magically appear next time you do this export Excel function. You'd have to save this locally. But what will happen is all of the changes that I made to fields and the records that are part of CRM will take effect, and they will be saved back into my system. Now, the key thing to point out here is that if I had any workflows, any plugins that fire on the event of saving a record, those are all going to fire. So it respects data integrity and ensures that your business processes that you've established are followed by having those workflows and plugins fire. The one thing to note, though, is this is not immediate. So if you notice, what it's doing is it's using the out-of-the-box import feature to save the changes back to CRM. So it's near real time. It's going to happen within the next couple of seconds or so. And if there were any problems, so notice now that here's the new revenue and then the new rating for this. Okay, So that is Excel. Now let's take a look at the OneNote piece. I'm going to open an opportunity. So what I've done is I've gone ahead and I've enabled OneNote integration with opportunities. You can set this for any record type out there. Once you enable this, and the system administrator has to do this, you will get a new tab in your social pane. So in addition to my activities and notes, I have the OneNote feature. And when I click on this, it's going to create a new notebook for me if I did not have one before. In this case, I did. So when I click on this, it's going to open OneNote online and pull up the specific notes that I was taking with this opportunity. Okay, so now I'm in Excel Online, and I can start taking more additional notes in here. And if I wanted to, I can open this in my local copy of the OneNote client, which is here, and then do additional changes to this. The beauty of all of this is that if any change I make independent of where I'm at, I could be in OneNote online, I could be in my client, I could be in my mobile phone. All those notes are synchronized and they are attached to my CRM record. Okay. Any questions on this? All right. So next piece is mobile enhancements. So for this, I'm going to try and hopefully this ends up working. Let's see here. I'm going to actually show you my phone in which I've installed a newer version of Dynamics CRM. And let's see if this ends up working. All right, let me give it one more try, and if not, I'll show you what the images that I had taken for you. I really wanted to show you guys this. So while I start setting this up, let me talk to what they've done. What they've essentially done is they've replaced the old client that was used to access CRM records, which was mostly giving you the ability to look at the accounts and contacts, but you had separate forms to manage for each of those. So it wasn't very manageable. What they ended up, this new feature follows that design of build once, use everywhere. So the same forms that you build for your web view as well as your Outlook and even the tablet are the same ones that are used for the phone. The exception, though, is that instead of scrolling vertically, so up to down, the information is presented to you to scroll left to right. And what this ends up looking like is, let me put this, show you what I had. So these are some of the screens that you end up seeing. So once you open this up, you can view information. You have dashboards, and you can actually see charts within those dashboards, filter records based on the dashboards out there, and you can pin records that you work with fairly often to a home page so that you have easy access to them at a later time. You can edit information from within the mobile client. It will respect any workflows and plugins that you have built and attached to that specific record. And then it also will allow you to follow the business processes. So if you have a business process associated to the opportunity, so the lead to opportunity business process, it will show you that and allow you to move from one stage to the other. So unfortunately, I can't get this to work, but we're also running short on time, so I'm just going to skip over to the next piece, which is the Power BI features. So with Power BI, what they've added this is enhanced analytics. For those of you who don't know, Power BI is really, this is a new tool that was introduced by Microsoft fairly recent. And it really is a collection. It's a self-service collection of tools that allow you to do your analytics online. So once you have Power BI and you have it connected to your CRM, you've given a pre-configured dashboard for sales. You have live dashboards, drill down reports, and even natural language queries. So let me show you what that ends up looking like. So I have here is the dashboard. This is Power BI, lives in a browser. If I want to connect it to data, then all I need to do is click on this button right here, and I get a list of sources for my data. So I can import from databases. So if you have an Azure SQL database out there, you can point this and pull data from there. If you have a CSV, an Excel document that has static information and you want to pull that into your environment, you can do so. But here's the great thing they've added is they've added these pre-configured connectors for your online services. So when I click on this, you'll see a list of services that I can choose from. So yeah, I can go for dynamic marketing, Marketo information. But in my case, I want to pull data for my Microsoft Dynamics CRM. So when I click on this, it's going to run me through a wizard to connect to my Dynamics CRM environment. And once it gets the connection, it will pull and bring you back a dashboard like the one that you're seeing on the screen. This is pre-configured, but every user has the ability to make this their own. So in here, you can see that it's telling me what's the total open revenue out there. What are my leads by source? And I could make this if I wanted to increase this or move things around if I wanted to. I can do this, and notice how it's quickly reacting to my actions. If I want to drill down into this information, when I click on the actual chart, it opens another report. And this report is also something I can drill down on and even filter. So here's my lead analysis. So these are the leads in my system. And if I wanted to, say, filter by those that are coming from the direct marketing campaign, when I click this, it's going to filter the leads and information on the left-hand side to just that direct marketing campaign. You can build these dashboards from multiple sources of information. So in this case, it's just Dynamics CRM. But if I wanted to put this together with, say, the marketing data coming from Microsoft Dynamics Marketing, I could do so. All I would need is to build that dashboard and a series of charts. But here's really the neat thing about this. They made this so that you can do natural language queries. So if I wanted to, I could ask this a question, and I could say, show me opportunities. And as I'm typing, it is trying to interpret and give me the information that I need based on what I'm entering in, and it's actually giving me suggestions. So I'm saying opportunities, but I could also say accounts by revenue. And it's now changed the, okay, so he wants to see accounts by revenue. Let me give him a chart, and this is the best chart that I can come up with to show you what you're trying to ask it. So it's very interactive, very collaborative, and easy to use. And then finally, let's talk about platform enhancements. One of the big things they've done is a new form rendering engine. What this ends up doing is it's significantly reducing load times for your form loads. So it's been the engine has been completely redesigned. They focused on parallelizing operations and handling the cache. Your end users will not see anything except faster load times. And how this ends up looking is, if you see this chart right here, the blue line is the old rendering engine, and the orange line is the new one. The as fields increased on your forms, the load times ended up increasing significantly. But with the new form rendering engine, the load time is fairly small, so under a second. And I have the source on this, so in case you guys are going to get this deck later, so you can look into this and verify the source of the information if you wanted to. And then the next one is Microsoft has made it so that customers are really in control of the updates. So there's a customer-driven update option now, which allows you to take your online Dynamics CRM online instances and manage the updates that are installed for those. So we talked about these releases that are coming up, the fall release and the spring release of 2016. As a customer and an administrator of your Office 365 environment, you can reschedule those updates, postpone them, or even approve them so that they're installed. So it gives you a lot of control. You can do this on your sandbox environment if you have one online, so that you can verify and validate that the new release is not going to break everything. So the difference is before, Microsoft would push this out to you and you were forced to accept those changes. You now are in control of what and when these changes are pushed out to your instances. So what's to expect for the next release? The fall 2015 that we know of will have offline mobile, predictive analytics, so hopefully enhancements to the PowerBI, OneDrive integration, and then improvements to search functions, and that most likely will be around advanced finds and quick finds, and then some additional enhancements to the Outlook client as well as the Dynamics CRM app for Outlook. So if you liked what you saw, then we are going to be having more webinars down the road. Here's just a sample of 2 of the ones that we're thinking of doing. We have a click dimensions, email marketing, email automation with Power BI and Dynamics CRM. We're also going to do a deep dive on some of the new platform enhancements for 2015. So that will include roll-up fields as well as some of the roll-up queries and even some of the developer tools. So if you're into the development, this is a good webinar for you to attend. So with this, I'm going to hand this over to Kelly for the closing remarks.
Really quickly, though, we do have a raised hand. So Jennifer, I see your hand's raised. I'm going to unmute you. If you do have a question, absolutely ask it. So you can speak now if you'd like. Okay, well, go ahead.
Can you push this line? All right, guys, thank you so much for participating today. Later on today, you should be receiving an email follow-up where we will include links to the recorded webinar as well as a copy of today's presentation and a link to a brief survey. We would really appreciate taking the time out to let us know how we did today and how we can improve your experience. And if you are interested in any further information with regards to Microsoft Dynamics, please feel free to reach out to any of the contact information on the final slide. Give us a call, send an email, or feel free to visit our webpage. And if there are no other questions, we're going to wrap up for today. All right, guys, thank you so much. And